There are few things more gut-wrenching for a business than getting a review that just feels wrong. Maybe the story doesn't add up, or the tone is just dripping with hostility. It feels like a personal attack on everything you've worked so hard to build. So what on earth are you supposed to do? And that's the big question, right? You see that one-star rating pop up, you read the comment, and your stomach just drops. Because or you have a very strong feeling that it's just not true. So what's the right move here? Your gut, your first instinct, is screaming at you to fight back, to defend your team, your reputation, your hard work. You just want to jump right in there and call it out for what it is. And look, that is a totally normal human reaction. But here's the thing. Acting on that instinct, it can be like pouring gasoline on a fire. That quick, emotional response can actually cause way more damage to your reputation than the original review ever could have had. Okay, so let's get into it. Why does reacting from the gut, even though it feels so right in the moment, almost always blow up in your face? Well, it really all comes down to who's watching. You've really got two roads you can go down here. The emotional response, that leads to public fights. It makes you look unstable, and it just shatters the trust of any potential customers reading it. But a professional process, that shows you're in control. It protects your hard-earned trust and actually calms the whole situation down. And this is the absolute key. You might know the whole story, but that potential customer scrolling through your reviews, they have zero context. They're judging you based only on what they see right there on the screen. And they're not just evaluating the complaint, they're evaluating how you handle a crisis. A messy, angry reply just makes you part of the problem. So if we don't lead with emotion, what do we lead with? You lead with a cool head. You lead with analysis. Before you do anything else, before you type a single word, the most critical first step is to pause and figure out what kind of problem you're actually dealing with. Because not all bad reviews are created equal. You've got your unfair review. Maybe it's from a real customer, but it's totally one-sided. Then there's the fake review, where you just can't find any record of them. A malicious one feels like it was written just to cause harm. And sometimes you get a mistaken review. They meant to review the business next door. Each one needs a totally different game plan. So, you gotta put on your detective hat. Start asking the right questions. Do we recognize this person's name or the situation they're describing? Does the timing make any sense with our records? Are they making claims that are just flat out false? Is the language just negative or is it getting abusive? You have to diagnose the problem before you can treat it. All right, so once you have a good idea of what you're up against, the next moves all happen behind the scenes. This is your prep phase. This is where you calmly and carefully build your case, away from any public eyes. And this internal process is everything. First, you pause. Seriously, just step away and let that initial wave of anger pass. Second, document everything. Screenshots of the review, the profile, the date. Third, do a deep dive into your own records. Check your CRM, your point of sale, everything. And fourth, if you've got a solid case, you report it to the platform with all that evidence you just gathered. And this is so important. When you go to report a review, a nice, organized folder of evidence is 1,000,000 times more powerful than a frantic email screaming, "This is fake." These platforms, they don't run on emotion. They run on proof. Okay, now we can finally talk about what you write publicly. Because remember, the review might be fake, but your response is 100% real, and every single potential customer is going to see it. This is all about protecting that future trust. This is what every fiber of your being is telling you to write, right? It feels so good in the moment to just let them have it. But to an outsider, to your next customer, it looks aggressive. It looks defensive. And even if you're totally right, you end up looking like part of the problem. Now, take a deep breath and compare it to this approach. See the difference? It's calm. It's professional. You're not calling them a liar, but you are skillfully letting everyone know that something doesn't match up with your records. You take the conversation offline and show everyone else that you are the reasonable, in-control adult in the room. And that's the whole ballgame. The first response creates more drama. The second one shuts it down. Your goal, always, is to be seen as the calm, stable, trustworthy business in this exchange. That is how you win, no matter what happens with the review itself. So, when you pull it all together, you start to see something really important. Handling these tough situations isn't about winning an argument online. It's about having a rock-solid process that protects your reputation no matter what gets thrown at you.
If you only remember one thing from this whole explainer, please let it be this. Your process is your shield. Your emotion, that's the risk. When you feel that gut punch of an unfair review, don't rely on your instincts, rely on your system.
And that system is actually pretty simple when you break it down. You pause to get the emotion out, you assess the situation, you classify what kind of review it is, you document all the evidence, you respond carefully and publicly, but only if you need to, you report it when you have a case, and then you just monitor what happens. And here's the most powerful part of all of this. Look, you can't stop someone from writing something ugly or untrue. That's out of your control. But what is 100% completely in your control is how your business is seen to behave in a crisis. And trust me, that's what people will remember. So I'll leave you with a question to think about for your own business. If one of those brutal one-star reviews hit your page tomorrow morning, would your team react or would they respond?